AITA for marrying my stepsister despite my family's objections. This is a story I never thought I'd be writing, but here we are. I, 30M, married my stepsister Emma, 28F, and it's caused a lot of drama with our family. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, I want to explain the situation because it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. Emma and I met when we were teenagers. My dad met her mom, and they got married when I was 15 and Emma was 13. Our parents met through work, and their relationship moved fast. They fell hard for each other, and within a year, they tied the knot. Suddenly, Emma and I were living under the same roof, trying to navigate being siblings, even though we'd spent most of our lives as strangers. I know what you're probably thinking, that this sounds like the setup for a soap opera. And honestly, it kind of felt that way at first. Our parents expected us to get along right away, to become a big, happy, blended family. But it wasn't that easy. Emma and I were both dealing with a lot, new family dynamics, moving into a new house and adjusting to our parents' relationship. It was a strange time for both of us, and we kept our distance at first. Emma was quiet, introverted, and more focused on her art and reading. She wasn't much for small talk, and I think she resented the whole situation a little. I, on the other hand, was a bit more outgoing, maybe too much so. I was that typical high school guy who played sports, went to parties, and thought I had everything figured out. We didn't really click in those early years. We argued over who got to use the bathroom first in the morning, or over who got to pick the movie on family movie night. Just dumb sibling stuff. But then, as we got older, something changed. By the time I was in college and Emma was finishing high school, we started seeing each other differently. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it happened, but our arguments turned into long conversations, and we began to actually enjoy spending time together. We'd go out for coffee, share music, and talk about everything, our dreams, our fears, the stuff we felt like we couldn't tell our parents. It didn't feel romantic back then, at least not at first. It just felt like we'd finally gotten past the awkwardness and become friends. But as time went on, I realized that the feelings I had for Emma were a little more complicated than that. She wasn't my sister, not in the way that most people would think. We didn't share a history before our parents met, and we'd built our relationship from scratch, as two people who just happened to be stuck in the same house. I didn't tell anyone about how I was feeling at first. How could I? Even I thought it was weird. So I kept my distance and focused on my own life. I went to college a few hours away, dated other people, and tried to keep things as normal as possible. But every time I came home for the holidays or for summer break, I found myself drawn back to Emma. By the time she graduated high school and went off to college, we both knew there was something between us, though we never talked about it. It was like this unspoken tension that hung in the air whenever we were alone together. I remember one night during a family vacation when we stayed up talking until 3 a.m., sitting by the lake behind our parents' cabin. There was this moment where I almost kissed her, but I chickened out and made some excuse to go back inside. Emma ended up going to college in another state, and for a few years, we didn't see much of each other. I focused on my job, she focused on hers, and we both tried to move on with our lives. But we kept in touch, texts, occasional phone calls, random Facebook messages about movies or books we both liked. And when she moved back to our hometown after graduating, we fell back into that old rhythm. Except now, there was no pretending that what we felt was just friendship. One night, after too many drinks at a mutual friend's party, I told her how I felt. I half expected her to laugh it off or to tell me I was crazy. But she didn't. She admitted that she'd felt the same way for years, but she never thought I'd see her that way. We kissed that night, and suddenly, everything changed. It was like this huge weight had been lifted off our shoulders, and we could finally be honest with each other. We started dating in secret. At first, it was just casual, dinner, movies, hanging out at each other's apartments. But it quickly became serious. I fell for her harder than I'd ever fallen for anyone, and she told me that she'd never felt so understood. Being with Emma was easy in a way that none of my past relationships had been. She knew my family, my history, my quirks, and I knew hers. When we finally told our parents about our relationship, they were shocked, to put it mildly. My dad and her mom couldn't wrap their heads around it. My dad kept saying, "But you're siblings," like that was supposed to change how we felt about each other. Emma's mom cried, worried about how people would react. They begged us to reconsider, to think about what it would mean for our family and for how others would see us. They were worried about the scandal, about what their friends would think, about the logistics of family gatherings if things went wrong. But we didn't see ourselves as siblings. We never had. Not really. We were two people who met in an unusual way and found something real together. We tried to explain that to our parents, but they just kept bringing up the same points. How it would look, how it might affect their marriage, how it might complicate things for our extended family. We gave them space to process it, hoping that with time they'd come around. But they didn't. My dad got angrier about it the more he thought about it, saying things like, "This is just wrong, and you're ruining everything we built." Emma's mom kept telling her that she was being selfish, that she was throwing away the family for something that would never work out. It was brutal, but we kept hoping that once they saw how happy we made each other, they'd come to understand. We moved in together about a year after we started dating officially, and I proposed to her 6 months after that. By then, our parents had grudgingly accepted that we weren't going to back down, but they refused to be part of the wedding. We had a small ceremony with a few close friends, and it was one of the happiest days of my life. But there was still this ache in my chest, knowing that our parents weren't there, knowing that they still saw our relationship as a mistake. Since then, things have been complicated. Some of our friends were supportive, but others drifted away, uncomfortable with the whole situation. We learned to stop reading the comments on social media when people found out about us, because some of the reactions were cruel. People called us everything from disgusting to immoral, like we were doing something terrible just by being together. It hurt, but we tried to focus on each other, on the life we were building. It's been 3 years now since we got married. We bought a small house, adopted a rescue dog, and are talking about starting a family. Emma is still the best thing that ever happened to me, and every day I'm grateful that we took the chance to be together, even if it meant losing other relationships in the process. But my dad still won't talk to me. I reach out to him every few months, trying to keep a line of communication open, but he never replies. Emma's mom is a little more civil. She'll send Emma birthday cards and sometimes chat with her on the phone, but she never acknowledges me, like I'm some unwelcome shadow in her daughter's life. Our parents still won't visit us, even though we've invited them dozens of times. They say it's too awkward, too hard for them to see us together. Recently, we ran into some old family friends at a local event, and when they asked about our relationship, we tried to be honest about how things had worked out between us. The reactions were mixed. Some were shocked, others just awkward, and a few were actually kind and understanding. But one of them pulled me aside later and said, "You know, your parents are never going to accept this. Maybe it's time to just let them go." I haven't been able to stop thinking about that. Am I being unreasonable for wanting my dad and Emma's mom to see us for who we really are instead of what they think we should be? Should we just give up on the idea of having them in our lives and focus on the family we've built together? It's been so long, and I don't know how much more energy I can put into trying to change their minds. I love Emma with everything I have, but I miss my dad too. And I can tell that Emma misses her mom, even though she tries to hide it. We've built something beautiful together, but there's still this shadow hanging over us, and I don't know if it's ever going to go away. TLDR, I, 30M, married my stepsister, Emma, 28F, after we developed feelings for each other years after our parents got married. We never saw each other as siblings and built a relationship as friends first. Our parents were shocked and disapproved when we started dating, and they refused to attend our wedding or accept our relationship. It's been 3 years. And while we're happy together, our parents still won't visit or acknowledge our marriage, leaving us torn between the life we've built and the family we've lost.